So what Ms. Claus wants us to do is to talk about our paper as a whole and see if there are any things that we need to change in it. So I'll be reading a paragraph at a time, and then after we read that paragraph, we'll discuss it, and I'll ask you questions, or you'll give me feedback. And then once we're done with that, then we move to the next one. Okay. So my title is Illegal Immigration is Taxing. Due to the prominence of illegal immigrants within the United States, illegal immigration costs are affecting citizens' taxes. According to Terrence Cullen for the New York Daily News, he states that roughly 12 to 20 million illegal immigrants reside in the United States. As of now, the reform to allow immigrants to gain citizenship is at a standstill. Like many problems the government faces, each one comes with an expensive price tag. The migration of these individuals into the United States costs American taxpayers $346 billion annually. This number derives from the fact that most illegal immigrants lack adequate income and legal documentation. This then forces them to rely on government aid, which in turn burdens taxpayers to make up the difference. Dominant areas in which illegal immigrants affect taxes are healthcare, education, law enforcement, and social and government services. So do you think my introduction paragraph thoroughly introduces my paper? We haven't read all of it yet, but do you think it's...
Yes, it sounds like it does. I like how you gave the dominant areas where
they affect
taxes are affected.
Okay, and that's my thesis, is the last sentence of the first paragraph. And so then my body paragraphs are going into depth about each thing that I list, which is healthcare, education, law enforcement, and social and government services. So each paragraph will be about that. Okay. And she wanted us to do about one quote per paragraph. And so what she wanted us to do with that is to not just like put the quote in the paragraph and then not say anything about it. She wanted us to like kind of introduce the quote and then make sure it fits well in the sentence, and like all the sentence structure is good. So like for the first one I said according to Terrence Cullen instead of just saying roughly 12 to 20 million. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I would have never. That's a lot of immigrants.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay. And this is just illegal immigrants. All right, so then my first body paragraph is dealing with the health care. So I'll read it to you. Low income and lack of legal documentation leaves illegal immigrants stuck in a position that forces them to lean on the government for medical needs. Illegal immigrants' medical costs make up 10% of tax expense on the state and local level. Neil Asbury for the Newsmax Finance states, the Center for Immigration Studies estimates that the current cost of treating uninsured illegal immigrants is $4.3 billion a year. The uncompensated costs of medical insurance and treatments given to illegal immigrants are passed along to others. The primary institutions that report the most Medicaid used for illegal immigrants are through emergency rooms, free clinics, and inpatient care. Medicaid and child health insurance programs expenditures represent a large share of childbirth expenses from illegal immigrants. These facilities help illegal immigrants who cannot pay fees for themselves, but then medical facilities and insurance companies turn right around and raise the prices for other consumers in an effort to equalize the expense. So that paragraph was just focusing on the cost of like the different healthcare options that they have. So what do you think of it? Do you think it thoroughly explains the healthcare part of my thesis? Because we're supposed to be referring back to our thesis throughout the video.
Yeah, well, you know, the continued mention of the cost, I think,
drives the point.
Is good, yeah. It because it's about how much it's taxing Americans, so to speak.
And then the examples back up the cost and stuff.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So then my second body paragraph focuses on the education part of the tax effects. And so I'll read it to you. Another area where illegal immigration affects taxes is through education. May 8th, 2014, the Departments of Justice and Education federal officials mailed out a letter reminding schools that under the law they are obligated to provide equal education opportunities. Education costs alone for illegal immigrants is $28.6 billion yearly. This number is based on the annual American Public School elementary and secondary education costs. These costs include limited English proficiency enrollment, university enrollment, and meal programs. Since many illegal immigrants have not earned an education that surpasses that of a high school diploma, many want different outcomes for their children. Various states are allocating in ways that will assist the alien children in the classroom. Although the idea of aiding in children's education is compassionate, that is still unnecessary additional burdens on those who pay their fair share of taxes. So when I was reading that to you, I noticed that my second sentence doesn't really flow very well. I didn't mention what the letter really, like the impact of the letter. So basically, they sent out a letter reminding that they can't turn down kids in education, even if they are illegal immigrants and they can't provide documentation. So public schools at least are required to give everyone an equal chance. So I guess I could have said that more fluently.
Said that better.
Mm-hmm.
That first sentence, another area where illegal immigration affects taxes is through education. That seems to be a good intro into this part.
Okay. All right, and then my one quote I had was, various states are allocating taxes in ways that will assist alien children in the classroom. And that was Lovelace that said that.
Yeah, that's very true. Collinsville has a big ESL program. They
What's
have a lot
ESL?
of, English as a second language. They have a high percentage of Hispanic, almost 20%, and so they really do have a big need there.
All right, and then my third body paragraph is referring to the law enforcement expenses that affect taxes. It says, the United States spends more money on immigration enforcement than any other law enforcement agencies combined. Since Congress passed the Immigration Reform and Control Act in 1986, immigration enforcement has expanded rapidly. The estimated cost for immigration enforcement is $18 billion a year, according to the report from the Migration Policy Institute. The law enforcement programs include Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and programs that help identify undocumented immigrants. Writing for the Huffington Post, Ellis Foley contrasts illegal immigration enforcement and other law enforcement's costs by saying, the U.S. spent $14.4 billion on its other prime law enforcement agencies. More money being spent in one area rather than multiple other enforcement areas combined should be a wake-up call that changes need to occur. So what do you think about that?
Is that saying that it's spent that much on immigration enforcement? Illegal immigration enforcement? Because that doesn't seem to read right.
Well, it's saying, because I said up here that for immigration enforcement, it's $18 billion a year, and she's contrasting immigration and then all the other ones by saying that the U.S. spent $14.4 billion. So
okay. That's good to have a contrast there.
Yeah. So
because it
they
makes
spend
it even bigger.
Yeah.
You get goodness.
Yep. Okay, and so then my fourth final body is social and government services, so that's kind of just like everything else. So other government services that are direct benefits to illegal immigrants include Social Security, unemployment insurance, and workers' compensation. Social Security, unemployment insurance, and workers' compensation are just 3 of the 80 some means tested welfare programs. Some advocates say that immigrants pay their fair share in taxes, but this is false. In reality, even if some illegal immigrants pay taxes, it is far less than what they owe because of how much they consume from taxpayer-supported benefits. The illegal immigrants that choose to pay taxes pay around $10,334 per year. That's kind of on average. This average compares to the 24,721 illegal immigrants receive in benefits and services. Okay, and so then that was all my body paragraphs that were explaining my thesis about healthcare, education, law enforcement, and social government services. And then my conclusion says, and in the conclusion, she wanted us to not just like summarize everything that we talked about, but also like do the bigger picture of it. So like not just focusing on healthcare or law enforcement or something, but like the bigger picture of immigration and how like you think it's affecting or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I said the United States is a nation of immigrants. Millions of them are already rooted in this country. They have been for centuries. Immigration has been vital to our nation's health and will be essential to our futures. Making changes regarding illegal immigration will not be a quick fix. It will take time and persistence to get the country back on track by being fair and consistent with immigration laws. Even though the United States accepts immigrants, they should come to the United States lawfully and should not impose additional costs on taxpayers. Once rules are set in place, less tax money will be spent on healthcare, education, law enforcement, and other government services for illegal immigrants, and more will be put towards other essentials. This nation believes in following rules set in place to strengthen the nation. The projected expense of $113 billion a year federally amounts to each household paying $1,117 through taxes annually just for illegal immigrants. Because of the illegal immigration...
Yeah, that doesn't read right. Because this...
I think I need to delete that. The numbers will not fall unless action is taken. So, like, my stance in the conclusion is just saying that, like, the numbers won't change unless laws are being consistent, because, like, half the laws are saying that, like, if you're illegal, then you're deported, but then the law is saying that, like, if you are illegal and you work, like, you still get, like, workers' compensation and, like, stuff that, like, citizens get. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like other laws. So that was, like, my broader perspective, I guess. Mm-hmm. So as a whole, do you think I clearly go into detail about my thesis?
Yeah, I think your paragraphs supported your your thesis there. I think it supported it good, and I think that the underlying issue, which is a cost, which is an additional cost to a country that's already not doing well financially, is very clear that it's expensive.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.